Hey everybody, Erica Reddick here with Reddick for President, trying out this live streaming on Facebook. Woo! I'm kind of nervous. I'm probably going to embarrass myself somehow. Luckily, there's a delete button just in case. But I really just wanted to record something today or reach out to Vermonters today as I see that our amazing Vermont legislature is still, even in the middle of a pandemic, an actual pandemic where people are actually currently dying, not maybe theoretically dying at some point in the future, but actually dying. Our Vermont legislature is focusing their attention on the climate crisis. So even as recently as March 25th on the House calendar, it's on their action list was H942, which is a bill to increase spending on electric vehicles and other climate initiative projects, including 2.5 million to 7 million on the Lamoille Valley Rail Trail. So let's talk about this. Let's talk about this just a little bit. Why on God's green earth, when we're already in a budget shortfall, have nearly $5 million in, or $1 billion in debt? Vermont is millions and millions of dollars in debt. Can't fund our pensions, can't fund the health care, and yet Vermont wants to spend 1.4 million state dollars on the Lamoille Valley Rail Trail. Why? Tell me why, Vermont legislature. Tell me why that is a priority when there's actually literally people dying. What's super funny about it actually too is 5.6 million they're anticipating coming from the federal government. So at a time when our country is facing one of the greatest challenges and potentially the greatest depression, recession we've ever seen, you expect, Vermont State Legislature and the Climate Caucus, you expect the rest of the country, the rest of the United States of America, to spend $5.6 million on a railroad in Vermont for no real reason. Can somebody in the comments tell me, why is it that the Vermont legislature expects the rest of the country to pay our bills? And not only pay our bills for things that we actually need, like healthcare during a pandemic, medical supplies during a pandemic, and all of those other things, you expect them to spend money on your pet project that makes it look like you care about the environment. Why is that okay? Why is that a priority? This goes to one of the greater problems with the state of Vermont, which is that we have special interest groups funding the campaigns for our legislators. Planned Parenthood, as an example, is one of the #1 campaign contributors to people who get elected to the Vermont legislature, like TJ Donovan. Now he's the Attorney General, so that's a different thing. But why is it that Mayor Bloomberg can spend hundreds of thousands of dollars in the state of Vermont to take away our Second Amendment rights? All of these special interest groups, climate change, blah, 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 are actually the people or the organizations getting people elected to office in the state of Vermont. Democrats often cite us needing to get money out of politics, and yet they don't say that when it suits them. So again, special interest groups funding the campaigns for the folks that we are currently seeing in our legislature who care more about the supposed climate crisis than they do about the actual pandemic that we're facing. Now, I'm not a climate change denier. I believe that there is evidence to show that, in fact, the climate is changing, that there are changes going on the earth. I'm just not sure that those changes warrant bankrupting the state of Vermont. And yet we have dozens and dozens and dozens, hundreds, in fact, legislators in the state of Vermont who think that it's more important to spend money we don't have and continue to decimate our economy for things that they cannot give definitive proof are going to be an actual problem. So the state of Vermont, which already has some of the best quality, air quality, water quality, and all of those things, we're going to spend money that we do not have to try to reduce that even more, to try to make it even better, more than other states are that have far more resources than we do. I don't understand this. So somebody in the comments, please tell me, and please, all my liberal friends who are listening to this, please tell me, why are those things more important than making sure businesses can survive, as an example? So when we're passing the 3-acre rule that says if you have 3 acres or more on your land of impervious land, right? So asphalt, parking lots, the footprint of your building. Why is it businesses should be getting bankrupted and having to shut their doors, lay off their employees, and either move out of state or just close altogether in order to address stormwater runoff in places that aren't even close to the lake? I can't figure this out. Can somebody please tell me why? I really am curious. If any person can provide me with the reasoning and rationale, I will gladly consider it. I'm just personally not seeing it. Even my sister, who is an environmental scientist, literally, actually, her degree is in environmental science. She teaches at a high school, teaches science, environmental science, studies this to still, doesn't think it's okay to pass laws that bankrupt all of our businesses. Do you want people to have jobs here? Do you want us to be able to grow our own food? This is one of the things I find super funny. Our Vermont state legislature, who cares supposedly so much about the climate crisis, they will pass bills that decimate our farms, our family farms, our bigger farms. So we've gone from having 40,000 farms in the state of Vermont. Was it 40,000 or 20,000? It was either 47,000 or 27,000. Now I can't remember. Somebody quote me, tell me how many farms there were back like in the 90s and early 2000s. But now there's under 1,000 farms in the state of Vermont. So we can't even grow and produce our own food here because the Vermont state legislature has passed so many bills and so much regulation that they can't exist anymore. They can't function. So tell me, is it more important to pass things like the 3-acre rule that destroys everything, really? And I'm maybe hyperbolizing a little bit, but really it's just a garbage bill and it's a garbage rule, and y'all should be ashamed of yourselves, but that's beside the point. So is it better for Vermonters to be able to grow their own food and take care of themselves, or rely on food being trucked across the country, across continents, to feed us? So as the family farms close down, we now rely more heavily on food that is grown, raised, and slaughtered in other countries, on other continents, that are then shipped on trucks, shipped on boats, and all of those other things from South America and China. Is that better? What is worse for the climate? Having food that is grown and slaughtered in other countries where they don't have employment laws, where they don't have health regulations, where they don't have laws about what kind of chemicals you can spray on the food, and then have it sprayed with chemicals to ripen on the truck on its way here from South America. Which is worse? Climate caucus, answer me. Do you think that that's better? Because the way that you legislate tells us that you do. I don't know if people know this. We actually have food, we actually have meat that gets processed in China and then sent back to us. We ship it to them to process, and they ship it back to us. Is that what you want? Is that what you prefer? The same country where this pandemic that we're dealing with has sprung from, we now are reliant on them for our food too? That's better? I'm just ranting, y'all. I feel like I should be more conversational about this, but I really just, it blows my mind. And I consider myself a reasonably intelligent person, okay? I am not the smartest person on earth, okay? I admit that, but I'm reasonably intelligent. I can rationalize things and kind of figure it out. But I can't figure this out. And I can't figure out what must be going on in the heads of our climate caucus to think that the decisions that they're making are better for us when it's clear that they're not. So this is Reddick for President, Erica Reddick, coming to you live from our quarantine headquarters, saying, what in the heck, y'all? Cut it out. We need to elect new leadership in the Vermont legislature this year. I'm going to encourage all of you to go check out the Ag Republicans. I think there's another sort of Republican offshoot, other folks that are conservatives who are not down with the current GOP leadership. Real conservatives who want real conservative solutions for the state of Vermont, not just more government intervention and spending disguised as conservatism. So, yeah, check out John Clark for governor. Check out the other list of Ag Republicans who are running for office this year. Look at people who are going to get us back to a balanced budget so that when we have a crisis like this, we can actually pay for it. So that we can actually pay for the things that matter, rather than continuing to pass legislation that has people moving out in droves. So again, Erica Reddick, Reddick for President, signing off for tonight.